Good evening or good morning, depending on when you're watching this. Welcome to the Maritime Career Orientations. This is sponsored and hosted by Alaska Works Partnership in partnership with the Transportation Institute and the Seafarers International Union. So we're going to start with a video to give you an overview of the maritime industry.
At a time when the world stopped, ships kept moving. People still shopped, ships kept on proving the volume of trade that's moved by sea, 90% of trade, actually. Crops that are weighed, cars that are sprayed, and it's easy to see the impact this makes. Fruit and vegetables, toys and collectibles, wheats and grains, the blood in the veins. Like to land a farmer is, ships are to the sea. And if the world is the heart, ships are the arteries, which stock the pharmacies, move essential commodities. So there's a lot at stake across these seas. Without these routes, half the world would starve, while the other half would freeze. Without these bright-colored containers, the four walls in our house that contain us would be empty. The books we read, the animal feed, the oil we need, the global lives that we lead. No oil, no cars, no essential spare parts. The sea's version of stars, those flickering lights on the horizon. By moon and by sun, but the journey is never done. As a supertanker proves, the distance it moves is equivalent to 3 times around this earth a year. And we are served by over 61,000 ships. The things we buy, the things that shops sell. The 1.7 million seafarers, it's more than just engines that propel this industry. And it's easy to see that a lot is owed to the people that load. 6,000 ports worldwide, but it's not all plain sailing. It's rough seas and piracy warnings and the change that this inevitably causes. The sea covers 70% of our planet, so you can see why we need to plan it. A global community of knowledge and passion. From salt and sugar to the latest fashion, our ships keep moving products we love using. Ships make the world go. They help trade flow and let business grow.
So ships and shipping make the world go round. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Scherer. I'm with the Transportation Institute, and that's a horrible name because we just do maritime, not all transportation. And I'll define maritime in just a moment if you don't know what that is. And we do research, education, and advocacy for the U.S. flagged shipping fleets. So that's the domestic fleet in the U.S. as well as ones that go foreign. Julie Leonard is the Anchorage representative for the Seafarers International Union in Alaska. And then Joanne, how do you say your last name, Joanne?
Harding.
Harding. Okay. I don't think I've ever really asked you that. So she is your representative and your contact at Alaska Works Partnership. So normally when we're live and in person, we do a safety moment, but we don't need to do that today, but it's always in there because one of the key values in the maritime industry is making sure that everybody goes home safely. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to define what maritime is because some people don't really know. We're not going to do introductions because we're not live. So, but if you wanted to put your name and where you're from in the chat, that would be great. We're going to talk about the Jones Act and what it is and why it's important. We're going to talk about 5 different sectors in the Alaska maritime industry. We're going to talk about vessel operations, the types of ships, the seagoing careers, 10 reasons why it's not so good to go to sea, 10 reasons why you should go to sea, and then now what? What are the training opportunities that you can and how you can get in touch with us? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So what's maritime? So maritime is what they call waterborne commerce. It's about moving people and goods over the water. The maritime is most everything that's connected to the sea, to waterways, to rivers around the world. It's about navigation, it's about shipping, it's about marine engineering. We're going to talk a lot about that today. The industry has a direct impact on everybody's lives, and especially in Alaska, with 90% of all of your goods coming in through the Port of Alaska in Anchorage. Think about the oil you put in your cars and snow machines and four-wheelers and your vehicle, other vehicles, the electronics, your coffee you drink, the food you eat, the clothes you wear, most come from overseas. So they come on a ship. In fact, 75% of the world's trade is covered or is carried by ships. And 60% of all US energy is imported by ships. So everything from aquaculture to shipbuilding and repair, maritime is Alaska's largest employer sector. People don't usually know that. So just to bring it home one more time, talking about maritime as carrying cargo or people over the water and the careers that are on and near the water. Let's see this next video.
I know now the necessity of all the cargo ships crossing the sea. I was blind, but now I see how important it is for these essential commodities that these ships travel across the world with, facing pirates and threats that are unknown to you and me. I was ignorant, but now I know the need for the number of working seafarers to grow, with over 300,000 tons of cargo in tow, maintaining the flow of commerce worldwide. We cannot divide, but instead multiply the awareness of this arduous task. While our world is slowed down, cargo ships are still moving fast, keeping the large volume of trade stable while still being able to let us eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner on a table. I was uneducated, but now I have learned of the acknowledgement that seafarers have yearned for. That package you ordered, the couch in the house where you loiter, may not have initially been brought to you by land, but instead by sea. Like the arteries of the world, the ships provide us with these essential things that help us to survive.
So that was a young man who won a contest to write a poem about the maritime industry. So again, maritime nationally, there's 650,000 jobs across the country, lots of money and labor income, as well as economic output. It's vital to the maritime industry, is vital to the national homeland and economic security of our country. And when you think about it, Alaska is a major maritime state with more coastline than any other state. It's coastlines combined. Your navigable waterways in Alaska, that network is over 5,500 miles and is the largest in the country, almost twice the amount of the next largest network in Louisiana. So these are high dollar careers, blue collar careers, professional careers, you name it. Whatever track you're on, whether you're on a 4-year university track or a career and technical education track, there's jobs for you. The Alaska sector employs 70,000 people from our largest cities to the smallest villages. But unfortunately, almost half of those jobs are currently non-residents of Alaska. And we want to change that. And that's exactly why we're doing this, so that you know that there are all these fantastic jobs in the maritime sector. And they can have a huge positive impact on all of our communities. So what's the Jones Act? And sometimes you hear about it on the news, but what is it and why does it matter to you? Basically, the Jones Act says that if you take cargo between 2 points in the United States, that ship has to be built in the United States. It has to be 70% crewed by US citizens. It also has to be registered in the United States. So just like a car, when we register our car with the state, ships have to be registered. So that's what the Jones Act is, basically a national local hire law, making sure that we have mariners and shipyards to make sure that we can be ready for national security. with everything that's happening in the world, our merchant marines, our maritime industry, and all the ships, the Navy ships don't take the supplies. They don't take the water and the fuel and the ammunition and the guns and the tanks and all that. The merchant mariners do. So this merchant system of these shipping companies and mariners are really important to our national security. They're also important to the homeland security. There's 25,000 miles of inland waterways across the United States, serving 38 different states. And Alaska, we already talked about, has over 5,000 miles of those navigable waterways. So the folks that are out in those waterways are helping the Coast Guard and the Customs and Border Patrol monitor what's happening and maintain our homeland security. We also, the maritime industry helps ensure that we have economic security in the United States, providing 650,000 jobs, $41 billion in annual wages, and making sure that we have an efficient supply chain. So 90% of the supplies that come into Alaska come through the water and come through the Port of Alaska. It's also, this Jones Act helps to make sure that we ensure the safety on vessels, because these vessels have to follow the U.S. safety laws, so they're safer. They have to follow the environmental laws, so they're not contaminating with greenhouse gases. They're very highly regulated, and other ships that are foreign flagged don't have to do that. So it's really important that we have this Jones Act around for us. You know, even our state legislators are very supportive of our maritime industry. So we've got support in the state and the federal legislators. So our goal today is hopefully for you to define the maritime industry. What is maritime? We already talked about it. It's cargo, carrying cargo or people over water, and the jobs that are on or near the water. We're going to talk about the 5 different, hopefully you can describe the 5 different sectors, some of the 5 different sectors in the maritime industry, identify different types of vessels, list the 3 different departments on a ship, and compare the training opportunities for seagoing jobs, and hopefully see yourself in a career in the maritime industry. So why choose maritime? Hopefully it's because it's meaningful work. It's in super high demand. The average age is around the mid-50s, and people are starting to retire. There's a huge gap. Everybody needs people. So there's great opportunities for advancement. There's super well-defined pathways and training opportunities. You get so much sea time on a ship, and then you get to take a test or training, and then you move to the next level. It's literally written into the laws in something called the Code of Federal Regulations. So super well-defined. If you're motivated and want to move up and keep moving up, then you can totally do that. And there are many different pathways to do that. There are many different types of jobs in the maritime industry. So it's super flexible, and there's different kinds. It's technologically advanced. There's electronics throughout, from computer navigation systems to sensors on the hulls, to sensors in the fishing nets that actually show you all the fish, to electronic motor controllers in the engine room, to network systems across the ship. And when you design ships in naval architecture, you use lots of electronics. And again, we talked about a little bit the green and the safety. Green, the industry is super green, particularly in the Northwest. The first hybrid tug was developed and built and operated in the Pacific Northwest. In Washington State, the Washington State ferries are moving towards hybrid electric. You know, maybe Alaska ferries will eventually move there. But from a green perspective and a greenhouse gas perspective, carrying something on a barge and with a tug, you can carry 1,700 tons of dry cargo on one barge versus 16 rail cars versus 70 tractor trailers. So the greenhouse gas emissions, freight trucks emit the most. Then significantly less is the rail cars, and then even less is towing or on the barges. And like I said, safety is priority one. There are regulations, there are insurance companies, and the Jones Act makes sure that we have to follow them. So we're not going to introduce ourselves. This is for if we were live and in person. So we'll skip that. But this is a general overview of the Alaska Maritime industry. maritimeworks.org. We'll see a lot of things from them, and they're a great resource. So we're going to talk about 5 different maritime sectors. There's a fisheries careers, there's seafood harvesting, seafood processing, shipbuilding, and vessel repair and maintenance, and vessel operations. And we're going to go through each one of those, but we're going to focus later on the vessel operations because that's what I know the best. I've been in the maritime industry for 30 years, and I actually sailed ships for 13 years and then moved on land to different jobs. So the jobs are transferable also. So let's talk about the fisheries careers. You'll see on the left-hand side of the page that this document, this kind of handout, you'll find on maritimeworks.org, and they have these 5 sectors defined, and it's really broken down into kind of a cool way. It shows you the types of, that explains what the careers are. Then it shows you the pay, it shows you what the education level you need, and it lists out some of the different names of the jobs that are there. So great opportunities. So in this one, this is about protecting and increasing fish populations. It's about studying the fish and fisheries management. The pay is $40,000 to about $100,000. You can have a high school diploma or GED to a PhD level of education. So everybody, whether you're on a career and technical education track or a 4-year university track, there are jobs for you here. So some of those jobs might be a biologist, a biometrician, an economist, a technology, and it's basically about from counting fish in a river to counting the dollars in the region that are associated with that fish. So lots of different opportunities with the goal to protect and increase the health of fish populations, which in Alaska, everybody is aware is super important. So they're seafood harvesters. This is what we think of is the technical way of saying commercial fisherman or shellfish farmer. There are lots of different ways to go to sea and go fishing and get paid for it, from working on a large ship with 100 crew members to working on the beach all by yourself. If you love that salty air and want to make your living from the sea, this is possibly a career for you. This also includes mariculture, shellfish farming, kelp farms, etc. And that's an industry that's starting to grow and build in Alaska. So you can start out as a from high school or GED, $20,000 to $100,000. So when you work on a fishing vessel, commercial fishing vessel, you typically get paid by the percentage of a catch. So if you catch a lot of fish and they sell it well, then you get a percentage of that catch and the money that goes along with it. So there's approximately 5.7 billion pounds of seafood every year that In 2019, that was $2 billion worth of fish. And Alaska, people don't realize that Alaska produces 2/3 of the entire U.S. seafood harvest. So we catch a lot of fish here in Alaska. So lots of different jobs in that arena. Seafood processing. Most people, when they hear the term seafood processing, or what I used to think was that, ooh, you're just going to be slimy and gross and dealing with cutting heads and guts and all that stuff. But actually, there are lots of different jobs in seafood processing. You'll notice that you can start out with a high school degree, you can get a certification, you can get an applied associate's degree, or all the way up into an MBA, which is a master's in business administration. So for management, the top to bottom, you're in charge of taking care of a very fragile product and moving it from out at sea to the dinner tables, from New York to Paris to Shanghai. And in the end, it's about managing people so that they work together as a great team. And if you've ever get the opportunity to tour any of the fish processing plants in Alaska, take the opportunity. It's really cool. And a lot of them have growing opportunities, like some of the skilled folks that are actually on the line that are cutting and using knives. Like it takes them like 5 years to build up to be able to do it in the way. So they have programs where they train people and they cross train. So it's really kind of a cool opportunity. And then the technical careers are everything from running an entire processing plant to fixing giant refrigerators. They're primarily land jobs that are associated with commercial fishing industry. There's lots of entry-level opportunities, and it's a great way to kickstart a long career in one of Alaska's strongest industries. So some of those jobs are can machinists, electricians, refrigeration engineers, seafood plants, and floating processor engineers, refrigeration technicians, seafood processing technicians. So now we're going to move on to shipbuilding and ship repair. And this is another one of the Maritime Works videos that's really cool and shows is inspiring.
The ocean. It has a way of calling to us. We travel these waters, always looking to explore. It's our way of life. The vessels we build are a reflection of us. Quality, safety, consistency, and innovation. Do you want to be part of a team that values truth and encourages you to succeed? Do you want a career that challenges you? Welcome to the maritime industry. The Alaskan spirit is about overcoming adversity and thriving when presented with a challenge. Building great things is part of what we do. It's about innovation, stubbornness, and doing it a little differently than the rest. If you're interested in a career with huge potential for both you and our economy, the wait is over.
I am an Alaskan shipbuilder.
I am an Alaskan shipbuilder.
I am an Alaskan shipbuilder.
And we are Alaska Strong.
And we are Alaska Strong.
And we are Alaska Strong.
Visit Maritime Works at maritimeworks.org to begin your journey.
And all of those videos are on that maritimeworks.org. So shipbuilding and ship repair and maintenance, it's from building a ship, a big, huge ship, to fishing boats, to keeping ships and boats running, from welding to engineering, for folks getting just started in their career right after high school, to experienced professionals with advanced degrees. If you love the design and high-tech systems, and like to work with your hands and see what you build and repair, take into the sea, this is a career for you. So again, you can start from high school to a bachelor's degree around 22,000 to 193,000. Some of the jobs are electrical engineer, marine electronics, a marine electrician and laborer, marine technician, surveyor or laborer, mechanical engineer, or even welding. So all the different trades. There's carpenters that are called shipwrights in the maritime industry. So lots of different opportunities as well. And then last but not least, and my personal favorite, is the vessel operations. So it's from coiling ropes to taking the helm, which the helm is the steering wheel. The people on vessel operations are the ones that actually run the ships. So this is exciting and high-paying career with lots of travel. You can start it as an apprentice, you can start as a deckhand and work your way up by yourself to a journeyman level, or then even a mate, a licensed mate, or a captain. If you're smart and reliable and dedicated to your craft, that's what being a sailor is all about. So there's many different jobs. There's several different jobs on the ship. You can be an ordinary seafarer, an able seafarer. You can be a qualified member of the engineering department, a mate, a captain, a charter boat captain, a steward. And a steward is the cook or the person in the kitchen. And so these, you can start out fairly low paying, but you can also start out really pretty high right now. This says $20,000 to $350,000 a year. I don't know anybody who's making as little as $20,000 right now. Even as an entry-level person, people are making a lot more than that. You can go from, and we'll talk about some specific opportunities in a little while, but 4-year degree. So there's different opportunities. There's something called that you can work your way up and you can just get a little bit of training and go out to sea. Or if you're on a 4-year university track, you could go to, there are 7 4-year universities across the country that you could go and get a bachelor's degree and learn how to drive ships or maintain and operate ships as an engineer also. So we'll get in deep to each of these. If we were in the room, I would be curious to ask you, now that you've seen just a little bit about the maritime industry and the overview, which jobs are you interested in? What are the things that you might see yourself doing? Would you see yourself as a seafood harvester or a seafood processor or driving a boat or welding in a shipyard? Just something to think about. So we're going to go specific into the vessel operations and seagoing careers. There are 3 different departments. There's the deck department that does watch standing in the wheelhouse and the gangway. The gangway is the ladder or the ramp that goes up to the ship that people walk up. They do deck maintenance, housekeeping, emergency equipment, and operations. The engineers, if you think of all the systems in your home, heating, cooling, sewage, water, electricity, and then on top of that, they do a bunch of other things like the propulsion and the engines and compressors and generators, like all the things that are mechanical. And then there's a steward's department, which is also, you can think of as the culinary department. They do the menus, the food service, the food safety, the prep for the food, the galley equipment, making sure that it's safe and working properly. They do food inventory and ordering and planning. And to be honest, the stewards really make the ship. The galley is the kitchen, and it's the heart of the vessel, because that's where you go every day and you get to see everyone and eat meals together. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about these. So The deck department we talked about is watch standing. So there's wheel watch. So literally a deckhand will drive the vessel, even on big ships, and they'll be turning, somebody else will be telling you how to turn. So you have to learn those commands and be able to execute those orders, communicate, helping navigate, maybe doing a little bit of weather on the bridge. So you'd be taking the weather observations. You would do maintenance during the day out on deck, performing general maintenance and repair and sanitation, the upkeep of the machinery out on the deck of the ship. This could include chipping, scraping, painting, soundings, priming, cleaning the hull, the deck superstructure, cargo gear, moving the cargo. And then the deck department really has a huge role in making sure that the life-saving equipment and the emergency equipment is maintained and in working order. So that's really important. Then you've got the engineering department, and this includes, but not limited to, hydraulics, cargo fluid systems, internal combustion systems, internal combustion engines, material handling, cargo handling, the ship's boats, so all their small vessels and that have smaller engines, they have to run those every week and make sure that they work. They also have responsibilities for the safety equipment and making sure that certain pumps work so that you can pump water to fight fires, or pump water out once you put water on. A lot of the big ships actually have machine shops. So you get to use huge machines in that shop, like lathes and milling machines and drill presses. You're going to be using hand tools and power tools, possibly going to be using cutting torches to braze and burn, and doing welding procedures and things like that. And then they also do quality assurance. So when the vessels are in the shipyards, the engineers are there to make sure that the people that work in the shipyards are doing what they're supposed to be doing and not hurting the vessel. And then, of course, the stewards department is preparing all the meals and the ship crew and does most of the general housekeeping. So they, for the food service, they ensure that all the menus are planned, and they prepare things according to the menus, that the line of where they make the food is everything is set out well. They usually do 3 main meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then there's also what they call a night meal, which, so for those people that are working in the middle of the night, you get a sandwich, or they put plates aside for you. So you get an actual good meal in the middle of the night and you don't get left out. So it's a way for folks to be included in the evening. They take every precaution to make sure to prevent contamination of the food through proper thawing techniques and inspection, and making sure that all the food is prepared and ready for serving. And then they do all the galley equipment in a kitchen. They do all the requisitioning and prepare all the meals, making sure the orders and returning unused food items to the bulk storage, breaking out food for the next day. So all the things that are involved in running a restaurant, really. And we'll talk about the pay for them in a few minutes. So one of the things that I think is important is that you guys need to know what are the different types of ships. There's so many different types that you get to choose which ships you like to work on the best. And then making sure that you know what the inside common space is, because I've been asked, like, how do you do laundry? Where do you eat? Where do you sleep? So this section is just to let you know kind of what things look like and what the different kinds of ships are. So our first type of ship is a container ship. So you see all these boxes on the road around Alaska, and they basically fill all those boxes and then they load them on the ship. So container ships, they actually load them on one at a time with a crane and lift it on and put it on the vessel. So we didn't talk about the jobs that are on the terminal and the port jobs. So somebody is operating this crane to lift the container over onto the ship. Somebody is driving this truck. Somebody is doing the hand signals to make sure that everybody's safe. So there's lots of different people on the port side as well. And they have jobs that are university kind of jobs where you go to a university, all the HR and the project management and finance and all that. Technical education jobs as well. So lots of opportunities. But container ships, they load them one at a time. In this picture, you can see there's a little bitty person right here. And so those folks are the stevedores or the longshore people, and they make sure that these boxes are connected to the ship so they don't fall off the vessel. So in reference to, we're going to show a little bit of this so that you can see what a container ship hold looks like.
Sped up to 400 minutes. So the bow. This week to see me finish this paint job. That's 8 containers deep. Lots of cargo.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the main deck. Now let's do the house.
So I just wanted to show you that they are not only on the top of the deck, they are also down below, and they were 8 deep. So they were inside the vessel as well. So another type of ship is an oil tanker. You'll notice this is one of the Alaska tanker ship companies. It's the Alaska Frontier. And it carries petroleum products. And you'll notice on these ships that there's lots of piping on the decks so that they can pump the fuel on and off. So this shows you a little bit of the deck so that you can see how it works.
Wow, that's a...
Keep all the paint, if you couldn't already figure that out. And the paint locker. This is where you keep all the paint, if you couldn't already figure that out.
Oops, I think I had the wrong. Sorry about that. Sorry, I had the wrong number on that one.
All right, let's go.
Here we
Yeah. All right.
So this guy is named Joe Frontier.
All right, here's the ship. This is the bow, this is the stern, and right in the middle of the ship is the manifold. And that's where we're gonna start. From there, we'll head back to the stern, stick around a little bit, then shoot up to the bow, stick around a little bit, then go into the house. All right, let's go. All right, the start.
Sorry about that.
Starboard manifold. So the manifold's where we hook up shoreside to transfer the cargo. Look at this bosun. This guy's always working on something.
All right, so that just shows you a little bit of the tanker and the deck on the tanker ship. Then you have a roll on, roll off. And you'll notice that there's ramps on the bottom and that there's the cargo on here, rather than being lifted on and lifted off, it's rolled on. So this next slide is tote. This is an example of the tote ship that comes in twice. There's two different ships that come in once a week, or they come in twice. And they're roll on, roll off. And the reason they do that is so that they can, the tides are so high, the water gets really deep and then it gets really shallow. So they want to get in, get the cargo loaded, and get the cargo off really fast so that they can match with the tides. But so they're designed specifically for Alaska, but that just makes it easier for them to drive off. And then you have bulk carriers. So bulk carriers are everything that doesn't fit in a container. So mostly loose cargo like grain or sulfur or gravel, things like that. And you'll notice on this ship that there's kind of flat cargo holds, and they open up like this into this huge empty vat that they pour the cargo into. So this is just another view from the front. And then
Right, here's the old girl right here. As you can see, she has 4 big cranes and 6 gigantic cargo holds. This is what makes her a bulker. So let's start our walkthrough right over here on the starboard side of the house. All right, let's do it. Hatch 5 is open. Let's sneak into that one.
and I think I was actually on this ship, and it was filled with grain. It was really cool to see this video and then see it all filled with grain.
The cargo hold. All right, let's make our way down.
Notice
you can see how freaking massive this hold is.
He's right there. Really tiny.
We had this entire cargo hold filled with freaking wheat, all the way to the top. Let's pause for the thumbnail that I didn't use. Fantastic.
All right, well, that shows you the at least the scale of a bulk ship. So then you have tugs and tows. One of the different kinds of tugs and tows, we're going to talk about 3 different kinds. One is called ship assist. So these tugs are super compact and super powerful, and they'll put up lines to the ship and help them steer and help them slow down. So this ship in this picture on the left is likely that ship is trying to slow down, and they've got a line up to the big ship, and they're trying to slow it down because once a ship starts to slow down, it can't turn very well. So it needs these tugboats to be able to push and pull it around and get it on the dock and off the dock. Then you have boats that are tug and tows, or push boats. And the one in the top left is called an articulated tug and barge. People call it an ATB. And it's connected to, there's a little notch in the back of that barge where the ship fits in there, and then they put lines and connect it. And then that whole thing acts as one ship. And then the other 2 pictures, you'll notice that they have little knuckles on the front, and that's so that they can come up against a barge, and then they'll attach it. And they can in the Mississippi River, they actually carry 2 barges, and there'll be like 15 barges out. But it's really pretty cool. And then you have tugs and tows that are ocean and barge movement. So much bigger tugboats more room, and they have a wire rope on there, excuse me, a wire, not a rope, but a what's the word I'm looking for? A tow rope. I guess it is a tow rope. And they connect to the barges. So those of you that live up in the rivers in Alaska, you probably see the Alaska Marine Line barges and the blue and white and yellow tugs, which are Western Alaska or Western towboat that tows those up from Seattle with all your supplies. So they'll bring containers, they bring loose stuff, but that's an ocean going. I'm going to show you a video in this next slide that kind of explains the tow, tug, and barge industry better than I can.
To work in the tugboat, towboat, and barge industry is to be part of the lifeblood of America's future. Part of an industry that's the largest segment of American maritime, moving nearly 700 million tons of cargo across our country every year. Vital commodities that power our homes and businesses, build our infrastructure, feed our families, and sustain our way of life. Part of an industry that shows up to work day and night, 24/7, through cold, rain, heat, and just about anything else nature throws at us. Part of an industry that puts the safety of our mariners and the safety of the communities we serve above all else, and works to raise the safety bar for everyone on the water.
For my particular role, safety is an important factor to my job. It's important that I care for and maintain the safety of all my crew members.
Well, my number one goal is to come to work in one piece and to leave the exact same way I got here. And we kind of work together and support each other and keep an eye on each other.
Part of an industry where one barge can carry as much freight as 16 rail cars or 70 trucks, making us the greenest mode of freight transportation, and where our commitment to a sustainable future drives us to innovate and keep searching for ways to reduce our environmental footprint.
Everybody in the maritime industry cares deeply about our carbon footprint impact on the environment, and that's why, the most rewarding jobs that we do are the ones that we can kind of give back.
Part of an industry that's vital to our nation's security, that works with the Coast Guard to keep watch over our waterways, moves cargo for our military, and keeps the
Sorry about the buffering.
supply chain moving during a crisis. Part of an industry where people can start right out of high school, show what they're made of, work their way up, provide for their families, and be part of a team that our nation depends on.
I mean, there's great benefits out here, great chance for upward movement.
Do different things on different days. It's not waking up and going out and doing the same thing.
You know, you do your hits, you go home and enjoy having some off time with your family.
Never wanted to venture too far away from home, so I'm in a place I can still go home every day.
I prefer my independence, and you feel independent on the water.
What's not to like? You come out here on the water, on the boat, beautiful days like this.
Having this job gave me and my wife confidence to have a kid.
I started out in Florida, went to the Gulf, came up here, back to my hometown.
Most of all, whether we're moving cargo on our rivers and coasts that fuels our country and feeds the world, or guiding ocean-going ships safely into port, to work in the tugboat, towboat, and barge industry is to be part of something that matters. For today and for tomorrow.
So then we have fish harvesting, which I think you guys, a lot of folks know about, but you've got on the top left, you've got a longliner. On the bottom left, you've got a purse seiner. On the right-hand side, you've got big trawlers. And then in the middle, you've got a fishing vessel, or excuse me, a crab boat. So lots of different opportunities to do that. This just shows you a little bit.
It's simple. Good science and collaborative management.
I sit on the North Pacific Fishery Management Council made up of stakeholders, fishermen, and NOAA officials. We are the ones that
Foods like fish sticks, imitation crab, and the iconic fillet of fish. It's also the biggest fishery in the United States by volume and recognized worldwide as being well managed and sustainable. Why are Alaska fisheries like pollock so successful? It's simple. Good science and collaborative management.
You can at least see what it looks like on a big trawler to bring in a big bag of fish.
I sit on the North.
One thing that people don't talk about is the research vessels. You've got on the right-hand side, you've got a NOAA vessel, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and they have a series of vessels that do research from the bottom of the ocean all the way to the weather and the atmosphere. They do mapping. This smaller vessel actually goes into shallower waters, and they use all kinds of electronics to image the bottom of the ocean so that they can make charts. And then the one on the top left is the Sikuliak, which is the University of Alaska vessel. So there are research vessels that you can go on as well. And then there's something called the Military Sea Lift Command. It's not the military, but it supports the military. They bring equipment and supplies like food and fuel to the military when there's a deployment. So you can see there's a roll-on, roll-off vessel on the lower left-hand corner. You can see the ramps on the back that would take the tanks and the Humvees and all the things. There's on the bottom right is a fuel tanker so that they literally pull alongside a Navy ship, and while they're moving, they fuel those ships. The top right is a hospital ship. There's two of those, and they go all over the world. And then there's all different kinds of special mission vessels for that. So if you think of the maritime industry as the fourth arm of defense, you can still serve your country and support the military and support our nation while not being in the military. So that's important for you. And then there's also passenger vessels. You guys know more than anybody else about the ferry systems, but there are also adventure cruises and big cruise ships. Most of the big cruise ships are foreign flag ships. There's only one US flagged cruise ship, and that's out in Hawaii. But you could go and work on a ship in Hawaii and then come home and live in Alaska. To go from one extreme to another. So the inside of the ship. So this is the galley or the kitchen. If you look at the far right, this is a picture of a tugboat, so a smaller vessel galley or a kitchen. This one in the middle you'll see is a larger one, and I can't tell whether that's looks like a pretty large galley, but it's the kitchen where they prepare the food. Then you've got the mess deck, which is probably the most important place on the ship in reference to the morale and the feeling of family. This is where everybody eats and spends time together. Like I said, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a night lunch. This is what a stateroom could look like. You'll notice that one of them is a shared room. Each of those beds has a little curtain that you can't see in that, but you can pull the curtain so you can have some privacy. Nowadays, most of the big ships, you don't have to share a room. You have your own room. You may share a bathroom, there's doors that lock from either side so that you can share the bathroom. But most of the time you would have your own room, but they're kind of simple looking rooms. This is the engine room. On the right hand side, you'll see the control center, which is kind of the brains of the engine room, and a picture of one of the huge engines. On the left hand side in this, you'll see a tugboat engine room, which is a little smaller and more compact. And then on the right side is the huge engine room with huge engines, multiple levels. So there's lots of different scales based on the type of vessel. And then on the deck, you see the guy in the top left doing maintenance. He's actually using a needle gun to get the rust off, and then he'll have to treat that with a rust protectorant, and then prime it and paint it. And I actually liked doing deck work when I was out there because you could actually see your finished product. You could see your projects from beginning to end. You'll also see the different people handling lines, one on a big ship, tying up using the winches. You've got to put the line on the winch and pull it up. And then the other guy on the tugboat taking a line from a big ship so they can assist that ship into port or out of port. And then this is a picture of the bridge. On the right hand side, you'll see a very large bridge. So a large ship like a bulk or tanker or a container ship. And on the right hand side, or excuse me, on the left hand side is the same tugboat. The one on the top is the daytime and the one on the bottom is the nighttime. So you can see the difference. And this is just a normal passageway if you're going like a hallway, if you're going from one location to another. And this is just a little bit of a tour from that same guy of a container ship, so that you can see a little bit of the inside.
Be sure to tune in next week to see me finish this paint job. So we try to keep a pretty clean house. That's why before we enter the house, we make sure we take our boots off in the locker room. Laundry room. Is it detergent or is it floor cleaner? The floors say floor cleaner. The clothes say floor cleaner. The ship says detergent. It's a pretty good gym on board. They got everything you need. Free weights, rubber bands, attachments for the machine. I've always been more of a cardio guy myself. Just peek in the engine room real quick. Control room here, and we also have the galley and the two messes. All right, C deck. This is where the deck guys sleep, and also where we have our crew lounge. This is where the ship holds its meetings. Whoa, a dartboard with rope around it. How nautical. All right, D deck. This is where the engineers sleep, and we also have our officers' lounge and library. More of an Xbox guy myself. The library is one of my favorite rooms on the ship. We have the 2 computers that give us access to the internet, and we have a whole computer full of movies and a bunch of DVDs you can take. So many movies.
You notice there's lots of stairs.
And the bridge. Definitely the brain of the ship. Up here, we have electronic chart systems, radars, and my baby, the helm. And this video is brought to you by Way Too Much Coffee.
All right. Well, that gives you just an idea of what the ship looks like on the inside and what you'll see. So now that we've talked about all the different types, let's do real talk about what are the 10 reasons not to go to sea. I want to be honest and make sure that, this isn't for everybody. So we want to make sure that you know the good and the not so good to make an informed decision. So the top one is that it's a top-down hierarchy of management. So if that doesn't work for you, then this might not be the place for you. You don't get to choose your food. It's served to you. It's bought by other people. So you can certainly bring on little snacks and stuff that you love to have for yourself. But, big ships, you're going to have 2 or 3 different choices. You'll have a salad bar. But like on tugboats and smaller vessels, whoever's cooking for 5 or 6 people, you're going to get chicken a night. So you don't get a lot of choices. So if that's something that's important to you, again, when you're working on a ship, likely you're going to be cold, wet, and tired relatively frequently. You're out there, you're in the environment, you're out at sea. So just know that it's something that's going to come up. You need to be in relatively good shape. Access to professional medical care can be hours or even sometimes days away, depending on how far out you are. Now, on U.S. ships, there's always a person that's trained in higher levels of medical beyond first aid, so like at an EMT or even like an EMT plus level. So they can keep people alive and do telemedicine. And get advice from a doctor to help someone, but it still could be several hours away. So you need to be in relatively good health. You need to be able to get along with people because you're going to see the same people day after day. You can't get away from them. You're never more than 6 feet from someone. There may be a steel wall between you, but you're going to see the same people over and over again. And there's folks from all walks of life. So you have to get along with folks. You might get seasick and you might have to deal with that. I got seasick. And after a while, your body just starts to get used to it, but, that's something that could happen. There's little, if any, internet connection. It's getting better and better, especially with Starlink and the satellite systems. So the communication and that internet connection might be better. And that goes with the next one too. Little to no communication with your family while you're at sea. Again, as internet connection becomes more viable, that'll be better. You're going to be away from home for a week to 4 months at a time. Working on a vessel, you have a rotating schedule. And then you're expected to be drug-free if you're working on a boat. And that includes cannabis, marijuana, whatever you want to call it. Even if it's legal in your state, it's not legal when you're out at sea. And so you're expected to be drug-free. So we talked about the reasons why not to go to sea, but let's talk about why you should go to sea. One advantage is that you don't have to have a 4-year degree to be successful. There are short, low cost, no cost education opportunities for you to go to sea. With SIU, with the Seafarers International Union and an apprenticeship program, you can start out at $5,000 to $7,000 a month. That's right, $5,000 to $7,000 a month. Get benefits for yourself and your family. You can get a pension and 401k. I know if you're a kid, you're not really thinking about that, but it's great. And pension, there's not a lot of companies that have pensions anymore. So this is a good opportunity to get for your future. At sea, there's no place to spend your money. So you're saving money. So when you come back, you've got cash. There are multiple different unions that protect your wages and benefits and living and working conditions. So you can sail union or not sail union, but they're out there and they're available for you. You're on a rotating schedule. You're on and off the vessel. So when you're off, you are completely free to have quality time with your friends and your family. If there's things that you love to do, you like to work on cars, or you are an artist or a musician, you have all this time off to do those other things. It's flexible. You get to choose what ships you go on. You get to choose when and when you don't go out to sea. It's adventurous. You get to travel the world and see things that most people only dream about. And then there's opportunities for advancement. This can be a long-term career for you. And it's a community. You create a bond that sometimes feels like a family. And you get room, board, towels, food, clothes, laundry, a workout room, and a job, all on one ship. So now what? So there are different opportunities, and I keep forgetting to update this slide, but if you are not ready to leave Alaska right away, then you can go to ABTEC, which is in Seward. They've got places for you to stay, and they have U.S. Coast Guard approved trainings to be able to do that. If you are ready for an adventure and to go away for just a little while for training, then you can go to what's called the Unlicensed Apprenticeship Program through the Seafarers International Union at the Harry Lundenberg School of Seamanship. It's a very long name. It's in Piney Point, Maryland. Most people just call it Piney Point. But the cool thing about that one is it's free tuition. So ABTEC, again, is in, you can still go to work for that same union, but you can go to school in Seward and get that, get your Coast Guard approved training. But the thing with that is you have to get a job on a ship and get some sea time. They don't give you the sea time, whereas the apprenticeship will actually give you the sea time. There are other University of Alaska in Ketchikan and Kodiak also have U.S. Coast Guard approved training programs. So you can go stay in Alaska, get your credentials, get the things you need, get some training, and then you could go to work for Seafarers International also. But if you choose to go to the training school, that's free tuition. This video is going to show you a little bit about it.
In rural southern Maryland, not far from the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay, sits the most comprehensive maritime training school in the country.
Disembark!
On this 100-acre site in St. Mary's County, the Seafarers International Union trains the current and next generation of men and women needed to serve on U.S.-flagged merchant marine ships and on vessels run by the U.S. Military Sea Lift Command. The Coast Guard requires it.
Whether they're transitioning from the military or they're just coming in as entry-level cadets in our apprentice program, they mandate training before you can sail.
Like, people think everything comes from Walmart, which it really doesn't. Everything comes on a ship, right?
Ricky Rivera has been on dozens of these massive container vessels. He comes back to Paul Hall Center to upgrade his skills and certifications. At any given time, there are several classes of budding mariners here, enrolled in the center's extensive registered apprentice program. Some are very young, like Dylan Anderson.
Have you just graduated high school?
Others, like Daniel Bynum, are older, with the sea in their genes.
I come from a family of Great Lakes sailors. I'll be the 4th generation.
And what experiences these young people have in their registered apprentice program, like learning to fight fires.
In this exercise as well, they're getting fundamentals as to when you're on a hose line, when you're in a different position, what your job is at each position. So we have a nozzle person, a backup person, and a backup team.
They become adept at swimming to lifeboats and rowing them too. They practice rescuing victims in the water and plugging leaks in mock engine rooms flooding from accidents at sea. They become expert with ropes.
Stand the bow or not.
They study welding and how to take apart valves and pumps. And in simulators, they pilot ships in a variety of weather conditions and respond to emergencies in the engine room.
We can simulate a loss of lube oil, loss of fuel oil, a loss of an engine, loss of power, loss of control of steering. Anything we can do out there, we can do here.
Apprentice stewards learn to chop, peel, cook, plan menus, and order supplies to keep crews well fed even when the boat is rocking.
So you need to take some safety steps so that when the ship does take a roll, things don't begin to fly off of shelves and create accidents and people get injured.
That's why discipline, from making hospital corners to obeying commands, is such a major part of the culture and training.
When you're out in the middle of the ocean, you're not going to get much of a signal. So if you can't adapt and conform here with the program while they're on deck, they're going to have a real hard time struggling on the ship because they're not going to have that capability.
After an initial 15 weeks here at Piney Point, all apprentices hit the high seas.
You do 3 months on a ship in each department: deck, galley, engine. And then from there, you come back to the school, you decide which department you want to go into from your experience on those 3 months.
But engine was the most interesting, and I could see myself doing long term.
A former Marine, Levon Prophet, wants to be a container ship captain.
I think I'm prepared for it. I think I'm ready for it.
Where have you been?
Pretty much all over Europe. I just made it to the Middle East this past voyage. I've been to Asia.
I went to Greece, Suda Bay, Greece, Athens, Greece. Great food over there.
I got to go to Belgium and Germany and the UK.
I would like to travel the world, and I would like to travel for free, so that the school gives me the opportunity to do all of this.
And acquire skills that can be applied on land, too.
I could definitely sous chef. I don't have to work at the franchise restaurants. I can actually work at a professional restaurant with fine cuisine because of training for this school.
Because most merchant mariners are at sea 3/4 of the year, their family time is limited, but completely their own.
When I'm home, I get to do everything with them. You know, like I was just home for 2 months, 24 hours a day. So it's awesome quality time.
The training and lodging here are free, paid for by the major domestic shipping lines that contract with the Seafarers International Union to provide them with well-qualified employees.
Someone who wants to be in control of their own destiny, someone who wants to be in a situation where they're guaranteed advancement, someone who is going to embrace the lifestyle of a merchant mariner are the type of people who should come.
For more information on the Registered Apprentice Program at the Paul Hall Center for Maritime Training and Education, visit seafarers.org. The challenge, the travel, and the opportunity to learn, earn, and grow starts here.
And again, I just want to be clear that you go to the school and go and get the training, and then you could come back to Alaska and sail out of the Anchorage Hall. So the program is set up in 5 different phases. Since that video has been made, there's been a few changes in terms of the different days and stuff. So what you heard in the video might be slightly different, but the first phase is 16 weeks in Maryland, and it's the entry-level training, safety and union history and all kinds of things like that, just so that you're aware and know what to do on a ship as an entry-level person. During those 16 weeks, you get a $20 a week stipend. You're getting room and board for free, and this is really just to get, you know, snacks or deodorant or whatever. And then the phase 2 is 60 days on board a Seafarers International contracted vessel as an apprentice. So you would get a stipend. It's approximately $1,200 a month. So you get $1,200 for those per month. So that's 2 months. And then phase 3, you come back to the school and you get more training in a very specific place. So deck, engineering, or steward. The stewards, if you decide to go on the culinary track, the stewards are done at phase 3. So they start going straight out to sea. And the stewards on board ships, once you get to the chief steward level, you make $8,000 to $10,000 a month for cooking for like 26 people, three and a half times a day. So it's a pretty good job for that. Then the engineers and the decks move on to phase 4, where they go 120 days at sea as an entry-level crew member on an Seafarers International contracted ship, again, anywhere in the world. At that point, you are actually part of the union, so you'll make $4,000 to $5,000 a month, and that's not really counting overtime. So, and then when you're done with that phase, then you come back to the school and you upgrade and to the next level, and the apprenticeship program is done, and you come back officially to Anchorage and you start sailing out of the hall in Anchorage. And you get a B seniority. There's a C level seniority, a B, and an A. And if you go into the union without going to the apprenticeship program, you start as a C book, and it takes you about 5 years to sail before you would be able to be a B book. So it really helps. This apprenticeship program helps to bump you up in seniority. So when you go to the union hall, this is what the jobs look like. You've got on the far left, you've got the department. So you would see the jobs listed out, and the cool thing about the flexibility is you get to choose. So let's say you're a deck person, and the next level over, the rating is the job title. So are you an able seafarer? Are you an oiler? Are you a qualified member of the engineering department? And then the type of job is a relief or a rotary. Relief means somebody needs off. So those jobs are going to be like 30 days to 60 days. And then the rotary jobs are typically 120-day trips. So they're 4-month trips. So let's say you are going to go, you're an engineer, and well, let's go down to the deck, and you want to be on the Maersk, Michigan, that happens to be in Guam. So you would go into the Anchorage Hall, see that job based on your seniority, say, I want to try for that job. And they said, yep, you got it. So they will fly you from Anchorage to Guam to catch the ship. You'll do your 120 days or your 30 days, where on this one, it's 120 days. And then they will fly you back to Anchorage. So, and then if you have enough sea time, then you can go back to the school that you originally went to and continue to move up and upgrade, all for free. So, is this career for you? There are some general requirements. You have to be 18. You have to be eligible to work in the United States. You must be able to meet all the Coast Guard qualifications. Get a transportation worker information card, which is a Homeland Security background check. You can't be on any form of parole or probation. DUIs, if you have one DUI, you can, with some conviction, you can really get past that. But if you have multiple DUIs, that's definitely not going to work, because you won't be able to get upgraded. The physical requirements, we already talked about that you need to be in pretty good health. So blood pressure at a normal for your age, teeth in good condition. You need to have normal color vision. There's a sight requirement that's a minimum of 2200 vision in the eye, but correctable to 2040. If you wear glasses, you just have to be able to take 2 or 3 pairs out there with you so that you don't, if something breaks or whatever. To get a transportation worker information card, you can't have had a felony within the last 7 years. So that could be a limitation. And again, you're disconnected from comms and family. So this isn't for everybody, but if you're ready for adventure and meet some of these requirements, it could be for you. So is this career for you? Well, hopefully. There's a huge variety. All the videos that I showed you were from the same guy. And after he finished the unlicensed apprenticeship program, he went on a bulk ship, and then he went on a tanker and all these different vessels to see what he liked the best. And you get to choose, because you get to choose the job. So different opportunities. There are ships in deep sea. There are ships that are inland waterways, Great Lakes. You can be on cargo ships, tugs, cruise ships, all different kinds of vessels. You have purpose. Although the Merchant Marine is sometimes referred to as the Fourth Armored Defense, American mariners who choose to work on government vessels are part of a civilian crew supporting that military mission. Mariners sailing in these positions are not members of the armed forces, and even commercial vessels, so not military Sea Lift Command. Some of the companies actually still help the military and take things over there. So, and otherwise you're bringing supplies and good things to the people that you care about and your community. It's rewarding. The shipboard life can be really demanding, but it's also, mariners live and work together in a confined space and can be away, but it's super rewarding in terms of good pay, good benefits, the adventure, the travel, flexibility, your choices, because you get to choose when you go out to sea. I just want to reiterate again, like you could choose to sail in the wintertime and then choose not to sail in the summer, so you can do subsistence hunting and fishing, or whatever your life is important to you. And then advancement, I've said, but I want to reiterate that if you continue your training, you can just continue to move up. There are opportunities to travel all over the world and be part of this brotherhood, sisterhood of the sea. And once you complete this unlicensed apprenticeship program, you have the skills to have a career for the rest of your life. Oops. So there is an application process. I am happy to, if anybody is interested, through Joanna and Alaska Works Partnership or myself, we can walk you through the application process. There's an application process for the Seafarers International Union. There's the Transportation Worker Information Card. You no longer have to get your Merchant Mariners document before you go, but you just need to, we would talk through the application just to make sure that you meet all those qualifications. But we'll work you through that. We'll hold your hand. We'll make sure that if you want a job on a ship in maritime, that we'll help you get there. You can find the Seafarers International Union on Facebook. Check it out. Look at all the pictures and see where all the people go and the work that they do. This is actually a picture of a moose outside the Union Hall in Anchorage, in Midtown. So they're right there in the thick of it. And again, I'm Sarah Scherer with the Transportation Institute. Julie Leonard is the SIU representative in Anchorage, who would also be your best friend and help you through the process. And Joanna could definitely help you. So get in touch with us. Like I said, the hall is in Anchorage in Midtown on Sesame Street, which I think is hilarious. and their email is anchorage@seafarer.org. Joanna knows how to get in touch with me also, but you can also call the hall directly and talk to Julie. But great opportunities. So we talked about maritime. Hopefully you can define it. It's taking cargo or people across the water or on the water and jobs on or near the water. There are 5 different sectors of the Alaska maritime industry that we talked about. We talked about seafood harvesting, seafood processing, fisheries careers, shipyard, vessel, shipyard. So it's vessel building and maintenance and repair, and then vessel operations. Different types of ships. We talked about container vessels, roll-on, roll-off ships, bulk ships, tankers, tugboats, ferry boats, passenger vessels, fishing vessels. There's so much variety. And then the different training options. You can stay right here in Alaska and get your credential and then go to work for SIU or the Seafarers International, or you could go to this unlicensed apprenticeship program with free tuition and get that training for free and the rest of the training for the rest of your career for free. So hopefully you saw yourself in one of these careers. So no matter what you like or what you're good at, there's a place for you in the maritime industry and in maritime careers that'll provide you money, a pathway to promotion, long-term security, and safety for you and your family. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. We hope to see you out on the water.